Hi everyone, so in today's video I'm going to share with you a little bit about how we do paperwork in our probation officer job. So what is a parole report? Why does a probation officer have to write one? And what would you have to do if you start the training? My name is Sarah Edwards and I am an ex-probation officer. I worked for the Ministry of Justice for over 10 years and I was a probation officer for 6 years. And I share videos to help you actually understand what the probation officer job is, so you can decide if you actually want to apply, if it's the job for you, and to help you actually develop the skills that can help you with your application, your interview, and the assessment centre. So paperwork, what do we even mean by paperwork? So let's have a look, because this will really help you A, understand the job, and B, actually help you as you go to your written assessment centre in the stage of the PQIP. So firstly, I'm going to break down for you what we actually mean when we say there's loads of paperwork in the job. It's not like filling out a form in a doctor's surgery and things like that. That is not the kind of paperwork we do. I'll give you some examples. So when we first get a case, we have to do an initial assessment on them. So we will do the interview with them to find out about their offence background, what happened, what led up to it. We'll piece together the information that we got from court if they had a report. So it's like information gathering, trying to get to know the person and trying to make sense of what motivated them to commit the crime. What was it that led them to commit the crime? What protective factors, so what positive things were going on in their life, and what risk factors were going on. So what was it? It's kind of like the push and pull factors. What was it that could have stopped them from offending, but it didn't, and they still offended? This helps us form an assessment to know how to actually manage their case and help them make changes and improve so that they don't go back to offending again. So firstly, what is a parole report? So if you saw my last video about the written reports that we do, I went through all the different kinds of written reports that a probation officer does. But this video, I'm going to go into a bit more detail of what a parole report is. So firstly, what is it? So it is a really long document. It's normally about, between 8 and 12 pages, roughly. And we have parole report and parole addendum. So a parole report is done on any prisoner, so they have to be in prison, and they're either serving an IPP, so indeterminate sentence for public protection, which, fun fact, they don't actually give them out anymore. It was abolished. But there are still people on those sentences that you're doing parole reports on. And then life for prisoners. So anyone who's got a life sentence will need a parole report before they come out of prison. We also have a review assessment. So that same assessment will go through them for the whole order. So if someone's got a 12-month community order or 24-month prison sentence, they will have continuous assessments. So normally the assessment will happen when something changes in their life. So say if they get into a new relationship, or if they lose their house, or if they get a job, lose a job, because that's a significant change that can change the whole kind of structure of someone's life, and it can have an impact. So you're supposed to review. So you do the whole assessment document again, based on that new information that you've got. You may also need to confer with like social services, drug or alcohol agencies, any mental health agencies, or any other people that they're working in, just to get a fuller picture. Because remember, as a probation officer, you might see them once a week, once every 2 weeks, once a month. You're only getting what that person shows you in the room. So if you can get other information from other services, it helps just create that fuller picture and make a more accurate assessment. So a large report that we have to do is parole report. So this is when you've got someone who's been in prison and they've got either an IPP, which they don't give anymore, but you've still got people on that, or they've got a life sentence and it comes to you because they're on your caseload and you need to see, okay, are they ready for progression? Progression means they might be in closed conditions, so they might be in a category A, category B prison, category C prison, and do they need to do anything more to help them progress towards being ready to be released? And what the parole board look at is their risk. It's always their risk. Is their risk manageable in the community? If not, then they need to stay in prison. But you can't just say they'll stay in prison, you need to put forward recommendations. So if they are staying in prison, what do they need to do? And you need to justify that. So do they need to do a program on, like they have like a healthy sex program if it's sex offender? Do they need to do a healthy relationships program? Do they need to do like a violence related or thinking skills program? Most of the time the programs happen at the beginning. So as you progress through your caseload with that person, they may have already done programs. So it's not only about programs. How has their behaviour been, their interactions with other prisoners, with staff, with lots of different staff members? And again, are you seeing patterns of similar behaviour, or is it isolated incidents? How is their family ties? Are they building that up? Are they actually thinking and getting ready for release? Because really it's up to them when they come out, how well they kind of integrate back in. So it's kind of part on them, because we're all responsible for our decisions, and it's part of the system, making sure that there's the right things in place in the community to actually support someone. So you've got to make sure that there's a balance of both, and that they know the reality of what it's going to be like. So it's up to you as the probation officer to write this report. It is a very lengthy report, and I'll do another video going into the details of a parole report. But yeah, it's lengthy, it can take a lot of your time, it's very, takes up your mind, you know, it's a thinking task, and you may need to like put aside some time to actually do that. There's lots of reports to look through, there may be a psychologist doing the report, so there's lots of things to think about. So other assessments that we might do, we do a termination. So again, when someone's finished their order, so their community order or their licence or their suspended sentence order, so at the end of that 24 months or however long they were with us, we do a termination. And it's again just to reflect any changes. So has the risk dropped now that they've finished on probation? What resources, what things have they got in place that can actually help them carry on living their life on that positive change pathway without the help of probation? And you may need to redirect them to some other services, maybe counselling, maybe there's some voluntary organisations, but it's kind of just to tie it all up and see, has the risk changed? Because as we know, a lot of people in probation come back again, so it's also good for those who end up coming back on probation, so you can see, okay, where were they at when they finished probation, and then how long was it before their next offence, what was going on, what can be done differently, what are the patterns. So that is one thing that you do as a probation officer, is you really trying to like piece together the patterns of similar behaviour. So these reports are really, really crucial, and they get read by the service users, so they can have access to them, other probation officers. They may get read by other professionals, but there's certain parts of them that you can send in terms of like data protection. But yeah, they get read by people, so your writing needs to be really accurate, structured well. And when you've got so many assessments to do, it can make you go either way. You can either want to be really, really detailed and put everything in, but then you've got so many other cases to do, or it can make you just be like, I just want to get this done. But the more practice you get, and there's structure, like the more practice you get, the better you will get at them. And we get documents that help us structure and improve it. It's all about quality assurance, so you won't be totally alone when you start writing them. Other paperwork are things like referrals, so referrals to other agencies. You might have a drug and alcohol referral to do. These are normally like shorter forms, referral to housing, referral to education and training advisor. There's also a referral for like the hostel, so the approved premises, and that is a bit of a longer referral because you can only refer high risk people in, and you've really again got to justify why that person needs to go in a hostel, because there's not many hostel places around, and it really is reserved for those who have been in prison and who are going to be needing that extra kind of resettlement back into the community. There's also court reports, so it's changed throughout the years in probation. When I trained, we were trained doing court reports, but then they changed it to only certain probation officers doing court reports. So whatever it is now, court reports is a really good skill to have, and you'll be preparing a pre-sentence report to see, okay, they've committed the offence, you're gathering the information, what sentence can that person be given, and you'll be able to look at sentencing council guidelines. So there's a bit of kind of criminal law in there, because you need to be familiar with what the probation service offers and actually what is within the law. So you'll mainly be drawing on the Criminal Justice Act 2003 and the ORA Act, Offender Rehabilitation Act 2014. So they're the key acts that you draw on when you are actually deciding what recommendation in your court report. I hope this video helped. If you want me to go into any more detail about them, then I can. But if you are doing your probation assessment, you really have to remember to draw on the facts that you've been given. Don't make assumptions or opinions. Really look in detail and make sure you structure your report just like you're doing an essay, because it needs to be read by other people. And make sure that you're really analysing. So what I mean by that is you're taking all the information together and you're kind of being objective about the information that is presented. Picking out any patterns of behaviour, like I mentioned, balancing risk factors with protective factors, and considering the present and considering the future as well, and how that will impact not only them, but maybe their close family members and the community and the victims. There is lots to think about. But I hope this video helped, and let me know in the comments how you're getting on.